We leave Thursday to get to Norman, and then we end up in Stillwater, and we're excited about that opportunity. We had the weekend off, so I think we're pretty rested and pretty healthy right now, and it's a great opportunity. I mean, I think Oklahoma's ranked 18th, and Oklahoma State's wrestling great right now. They're what 8, 9-0, and they're ranked number 5, and at Stillwater, and what that venue I'm sure will be rocking and sold out, and that's what we want. So with that, I'll let you all.
Mentioned relatively healthy. Status on Casey's for the rest of this upcoming weekend.
Casey looks like he's ready to go. We got to get one more good workout in today here on Tuesday, and if that workout goes like the last, then he should be ready to go. We're going to take Zach Redding as well, so we got two good bodies to go there, and we'll just see what happens. But right now, he looks to be ready.
Oklahoma State in particular looks like a lot of ranked guys, if not all ranked guys, in every match. Just what do we anticipate there? And obviously the marquee one you'd look at is probably David, and I can't remember how to pronounce his name, Olenek.
Yep. Like I said, they're going to be ready for us. We've kind of had their number the last couple of years, and the last time we went down there, we beat them, and so they don't lose much at Gallagher, and they wrestle really tough. When we beat them 2 years ago, we just really wrestled well that day. But I like this team. I like this Iowa State team, and we're going there to win again. So, but a great challenge for us.
What is David's biggest attribute? Maybe off the mat.
Well, off the mat, he's a rock star. On the mat, he's a rock star. But he's obviously very charismatic. He's probably one of the biggest cheerleaders for the rest of our guys that there is. He's a total team guy. He talks about winning Big 12 championships, getting trophies at the NCAA. You see when our guys win big events, David's the first guy meeting them off the mat, picking them up, carrying them around. So, he's the guy you want on your team.
Is he, and I don't profess to know that much about wrestling, so thanks to Stubbs. He wrestled freestyle last summer?
Mm-hmm.
Or what did he wrestle last summer?
Well, in the off season, they all go to the Olympics.
But okay, so was he really serious about the Olympics, or was he serious about coming back here? I guess that was my point.
He wanted to finish out. He knew he got the COVID year, so his focus was he didn't do as much Olympic style freestyle wrestling last summer because he really wanted to be dialed into this. And now when we get done in March, you're going to watch a guy that's going to really try to make world and Olympic teams, for the next quad at least.
And a season full of opportunities for Younger now that he doesn't have to worry about what he eats. And other things. What does this week with 2 more or less top 10 matchups do for him as he builds and builds and builds toward March?
I just think he keeps getting better, and he's smarter with his shots. Of course, everybody's going to be gunning for him. I think his bottom game's better. But he's going to get 2 really good tests. You got, I think, a 6th-year guy from Oklahoma who's been a heavyweight, and then the Oklahoma State guy, I think, is ranked 6th or 7th right now. So. You get 2, when you get that kind of matchups, when you're getting 2 top 10 guys hitting, at heavyweight both times this weekend, it's going to be a good test for him.
What are your thoughts? Here we go on the updates with the whole alleged gambling situation.
Man, I've had to bite my tongue for a long time. I've almost chewed it off. I just am super not surprised by. What's come out just, in the last 24 hours. I knew from day one when my athletes called me on that morning in early May, I knew this thing was a mess, and I knew it was mismanaged, and I knew it was mishandled, and I'm glad it's coming to light now. And, I hope all of these athletes at Iowa and Iowa State take the state of Iowa to the cleaners. I hope they do. I think these athletes served penalties, really harsh penalties in the NCAA world, probably harsher than I think they should have, but at the same time, I'm not dismissing or minimizing that they made a mistake in the per the NCAA rules in the gambling space. But the way that the process went, these kids they didn't have any rights. And being a student athlete right now, unfortunately, you're proven guilty 99.9% of the time, and then you have to prove your innocence. It's really hard to be a Division I athlete right now because you get the book thrown at you right away, and the media starts throwing the book. And the DCI gave the media the ammunition to throw the book. And you just look at some of the stories that came out on Panero Johnson when it first started. I mean, the guy was just wronged in the way that it was handled. And again, they're all going to serve, and they've all served a stiff penalty. I mean, look at the upperclassmen that lost a year. I mean, sure, we want to beat the University of Iowa, but what happened to those seniors at Iowa was not the way things should. They should have not had their careers ended like that. So I'm trying to be really politically correct here, but there's people in Des Moines that need to answer some questions, and if they're going to try to pin it on one guy, I don't know if I believe that. I think more people need to take responsibility for that, but I'm glad that it came to light. I'm glad these kids are going to get some justice, and there's going to be some checks written, probably big checks.
How have you helped really Panero through it as he's tried to focus on, training? He talked about being at 157 so he can just focus on being a good wrestler. What's that been like for you?
Well, it's been hard. It's been hard on a lot of these families. I mean, there's a lot of people that people don't even know about that were staff people at Iowa State that worked in the athletic department. That were young people in their late 20s that lost their jobs and their careers. So not only do you lose the financial side of things, but the reputation. And in Panero, I mean, it's a good thing Panero's got thick skin and he's been through what he's been through in his life, because there was some dark days for him, And so I know that the attorneys that are involved with Panero are not happy with just what they found out just in the last couple days. So
You knew right from day one. I remember talking to you. It was just you and I. Where were we?
Yeah.
Sure, Dan or Peyton or
Yeah, we were in Peyton.
Peyton,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
Peyton, yeah. You didn't bite your tongue there either.
no, but I got slapped down afterwards.
I know, I know that.
I get slapped down all often, so I was luckily my guy Nick Juice was he was kind to me, but he said, Coach, we got to kind of bring it down a little bit. So.
But anyway, my point is, you knew right from the time you and I had that talk.
I knew.
Right there in the middle of Main Street, whatever that is. You knew. Why? What made you so confident that something was
my guys are so close. We're so close, and they know that we have an unwritten rule in our program that if there's any trouble, any legal trouble at all, you have to get to me before it gets to my boss, before it gets to our AD, before it gets to the media. I want to know about it. And so I had phone calls that morning. I had a phone call from Panero. I had a phone call from Woodley. I had a phone call from 3 or 4 of my athletes saying, Coach, I got some guy here that wants my phone. And, he's got some piece of paper that says he can take my phone. And, my advice to them at that time is, well, let's get an attorney. And let's at least find out the process here, and but they didn't. It was bully these kids at 7:00 on a Monday morning and grab their phones, and here we are.
So you advised them to get a lawyer. They tried to get a lawyer, but the state still took their phone.
Yeah, the phones were taken. Like boom, they didn't get them back for a week.
Have people mentioned to you what is certainly alleged that there were warrantless searches done, from the beginning of this thing? Do people say, hey, I don't know how they would have gotten this stuff, or I don't know if you want to say, but...
Well, I think, as things come to light now here, you're seeing how a certain group of people were targeted. And I used the word witch hunt and got in trouble, but it was a targeted list, and it was, I think right now they're trying to pin it on one guy, but I have a hard time thinking that just one guy knew all about all of this, and one guy had the latitude to take this thing as far and as long as it went. I thought that first morning, it's like, why don't we go get an attorney and just figure this thing out right now instead of again, all of a sudden we're guilty and now we got to back up and prove our innocence almost 9 months later. Now we got to go prove these kids are innocent, and it's looking like they are in some of those fronts. And again, I go back to the same thing. I'm not excusing the gamble, and they knew the rules, but we're talking totally different space here, and the rights of kids and jobs and families. Heads need to roll in Des Moines a little bit.
To bring it back to wrestling,
Yes, let's talk about wrestling. Yeah.
John Smith's been in Oklahoma State for a long, long time. There was some talk of him potentially retiring at the end of last season. He obviously didn't, and Oklahoma State wasn't quite what they used to be these last couple years. Now he seems to have it right back in there. What can you say about the job that John Smith has done?
Well, John's a badass. He ain't going away. I'm just telling you, he ain't going away. You find the most competitive dude. We're really close in age, and we've been friends for a lot of years. But when the whistle blows and you're out there, John will take your head off in 2 seconds, all right? And not feel one bit bad about it. He'll kick it around the room, step on it, and then he might be your buddy afterwards. But that's just how he rolls, and we know what we're getting into.
How exciting is it to go back there, go in their territory when they are, like Ben said, back at it, they're number 5, but you guys are number 4. How exciting is that?
Oh, big time. You get the top 5 matchup in college wrestling. Shoo, that's what you go to college for if you're an athlete. So I know our guys are super pumped.
And then just circling back to Younger, I wanted to ask, how have you really seen him, I don't know if grow is a word, or how do you keep his head in check? He has a big personality. It's his first season at heavyweight. How have you really kept him in check and focused?
Well, actually, Younger, the probably the hardest part of, as I've got to learn how to coach Younger, and I spend a lot of time with him, is sometimes in these matches that aren't big time matches, he has a tendency to be kind of complacent, and I have to kind of get him mad. Like, I've learned that sometimes I just have to, get him mad, insult him a little bit, and then the fire comes, and then watch out. And so I'm learning more and more that I have to figure out how to get in his head and get him really ready to go, because his nature is he's just kind of laid back, and I'm going to go out there and just. But when he goes out there and he's a warrior and he's ready to kick your butt, he can kick your butt. And so I'm learning a little bit more about him as I'm around him more.
What's the best or easiest way to get him mad and get him going?
I just say, you're not working hard enough, and quit complaining to the ref, and quit being a baby, and stuff like that. And then I just hope he don't hit me.
Duck for cover.
Yeah. And really, none of that's probably true. But sometimes I got to light a fire under him. When I light a fire under him, he's ready to roll. Like, you've seen him when he steps out there, and when he wrestles. You've seen him wrestle Iowa the last couple of years. When he wrestled him in Iowa City. When that dude steps out there, nobody's beating him. So we just have to get him in that mind frame. All right, gang.
Perfect. Thank you much.